This election's crazier than a soup sandwich. One president dropped out, the other was shot in the head. Now you've got a female black Democrat campaigning for the white vote and a white Republican guy campaigning for the black vote. And the Hispanics are like, hola, over here. Trump flew to Chicago today for the Black Journalists Convention, first-time Republican nominee to do that in 20 years. Kamala was also invited, but she said she was too busy. But the guy who showed up was treated worse than the woman who ditched.
I want to start by addressing the elephant in the room, sir. A lot of people did not think it was appropriate for you to be here today. You have pushed false claims about some of your rivals, from Nikki Haley to former President Barack Obama, saying that they were not born in the United States, which is not true. You have told 4 congresswomen of color who were American citizens to go back to where they came from. You have used words like animal and rabbit to describe black district attorneys. You've attacked black journalists, calling them a loser, saying the questions that they ask are, quote, stupid and racist. You've had dinner with a white supremacist at your Mar-a-Lago resort. So my question, sir, now that you are asking black supporters to vote for you, why should black voters trust you after you have used language like that?
Well, first of all, I don't think I've ever been asked a question in such a horrible manner. First question. You don't even say, hello, how are you? Are you with ABC? Because I think they're a fake news network, a terrible network. And I think it's disgraceful that I came here in good spirit. I love the black population of this country. I've done so much for the black population of this country, including employment, including opportunity zones with Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina, which is one of the greatest programs ever for black workers and black entrepreneurs. I think it's a very rude introduction. I don't know exactly why you would do something like that. And let me go a step further. I was invited here, and I was told my opponent, whether it was Biden or Kamala, I was told my opponent was going to be here. It turned out my opponent isn't here. You invited me under false pretense, and then you were half an hour late. Just so we understand, I have too much respect for you to be late. They couldn't get their equipment working or something was wrong.
Mr. President, I would love if you can answer the question on your rhetoric and why you believe
I have answered the question. I have been the best president for the black population since Abraham Lincoln. That's my answer.
Better than President Johnson, who signed the Voting Rights Act?
For you to start off a question and answer period, especially when you're 35 minutes late because you couldn't get your equipment to work in such a hostile manner, I think it's a disgrace.
That moment changed the campaign. Donald Trump ripped the news cycle right out of Kamala's hands. That exchange is going to be seen by millions of black Americans. It'll be seen by everyone. And how they react to it will decide the country's future. This is like the Megyn Kelly moment at the debate. Remember, only Rosie O'Donnell. It's going to leave a mark. They say half of life is showing up. Donald Trump showed up. Kamala Harris didn't. Donald Trump didn't have to go to the National Black Journalists Convention in Chicago. What just happened could even cost him votes. But he wanted to go because, as president, he wants to work for them. Kamala not showing up is taking the black vote for granted. If you're invited into someone's house and they disrespect you, doesn't matter who they are, what they look like, black, female, whatever, Trump doesn't tolerate disrespect. And as president, whether you like him or not, whether he makes you feel uncomfortable or not, that's the attitude you want in a leader.
In the heart of the urban jungle, the king lion fearlessly enters the den of the jackals. This isn't his first time, and likely not his last. You see, the king lion does this to show all the other woodland creatures who is really in charge, and also to remind the hungry jackals that if they around, the lion will tear the out of the jackals. For example, here, the king lion firmly tightens the cap of the jackal's water bottle while she isn't looking. The bottle is now sealed shut, and the water is trapped in the bottle forever. Besides, the jackal has no thumbs. He is the king of this jungle, as he is in every jungle, commanding respect around the world.
Dun, 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 dun. That is an all-timer, Jay. Way to start the month of August. Come on, baby. That's an all-timer. Load that up. King Klein, load that sucker up, baby. This is amazing. Wow. King of the Ring, Klein. Klein, please, no matter what you do, do not enter into women's Olympic boxing. We beg of you. Okay, so did you all know that Klein's a jiu-jitsu master? Did you know this? We should talk about that more on the program. We have so much to talk about today. That was such a great meme, Jerry. I watched the memes live with you. I want to just state this up for the record. I know Jerry's super popular in the chat. First off, Jerry's the meme master. We are the only program on the entire internet that is a full-time meme maker. This is Jerry's only job. He's a man of great talents, but this is the job that Jerry wants. This is the job that Jerry needs to carry on. And so we have full-time meme maker, and doesn't it show? Holy smokes, that was a great meme. That's a good meme, Jerry. It's really good. It's David Attenborough narration. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to August. Today is August 1st, 2024. Donald Trump triggers journalists at the National Association of Black Journalists. Does he actually trigger them? Or were they roaring with laughter and cheers? we will let you decide, but the answer is they were laughing their asses off at Donald Trump. Trump returns to Pennsylvania. The great MAGA king steps foot in the state where he took a bullet just a few days ago. Ladies and gentlemen, former acting director of national intelligence, Richard Grenell, joins the program. Oh, we are very excited to talk to him because there are a lot of issues of national intelligence or lack thereof that's happening. We are living in the lowest IQ time, I think, arguably in the history of American politics, and we will prove that to you with the Twerk the Vote campaign. My name is Benny Johnson, and this is The Benny Show. So if you're watching, we hope that you're watching on our friends Patriot Mobile Network. You know Patriot Mobile, we do talk about them a lot. We talk about them a lot because we love them. They brought us the RNC, meaning we went to the RNC together to make sure that we were connected on their networks and that we were powered by Patriot Mobile to get out all the good news at the RNC convention. And there's like a lot of great energy there. And I can't believe that I'm seeing blackpilling right now on the internet about the election. You're not going to see any of that here. We are going to give you honest truths like we have when Donald Trump's found guilty or charged with this or that. You know, we're never going to lie to you. But no blackpilling here. No blackpilling. It's got an amazing movement, an amazing energy, and you should stay connected to that movement by using Patriot Mobile. It's what we use to power this program. When we're all around, we're going to go to the DNC convention too. We think so. We're going to go to the DNC convention too. Patriot Mobile coming with us. Ladies and gentlemen, go to patriotmobile.com/Benny. Go to patriotmobile.com/Benny. Call 972-PATRIOT right now. Get a free month when you use the offer code Benny. BENNY. Why? Because I gotta. Yeah. That was for you. That's for you, Jerry. Oh, that's for you, old Jer. Jerry loves Jim Carrey, I think. Jim Carrey comedy more than any man alive. So there you go. Well, let's do Jim Carrey week, Jerry, during the DNC. During the week of the DNC, let's do Jim Carrey week. All right, we'll do all colds Jim Carrey based. We've had Western week, where we do where we did all Donald Trump Westerns. Let's do Jim Carrey week during the DNC. I think the energy of Jim Carrey will very much flow into a week of Kamala Harris. I think it's very, very, very rubbery. Yeah. Okay, so Donald Trump has this really special capacity to much like a superhero that absorbs energy, right? And then it makes them stronger. Chat, who am I talking about here? I'm not a huge Marvel, I'm not a huge geek nerd, but what superhero am I talking about here? Like the Blob or whatever, all right? Who's a superhero that you shoot a nuclear weapon at them, they absorb the nuclear blast, and then they have more power? Who is that? Who's that person? Hulk gets stronger when he gets hit. Hulk gets stronger when he gets hit. All right. Okay. Doomsday. All right. So Donald Trump's very, very much has that superpower. And we've talked about Donald Trump's superpower quite a bit. And we've been very consistent on this program that the superpower of President Trump is to actually take those attacks, not only get more powerful, get younger. Donald Trump looks like he's in better shape than he's ever been, and he's competing with pro golfers and #1 trending video on YouTube. Ladies and gentlemen, Donald Trump has that superpower, and he is now flipped it into high gear at the end of the election cycle here in 2024, because we are 96 days away from the election. Donald Trump's used that superpower before, and this is in no way a comprehensive list of times that President Trump has used this superpower, but it is the most famous moment when President Trump has used the superpower. The very famous, in Cooperstown, hung up in the Smithsonian like a work of art, "Only Rosie O'Donnell." Go. Oh, no.
Women, you don't like fat pigs, dogs, slobs, and disgusting animals. Your Twitter account...
Only Rosie O'Donnell.
No, it wasn't. Your Twitter account...
Thank you.
For the record, it was well beyond Rosie O'Donnell.
Yes, I'm sure it was.
I was there that day. I was standing right there when Trump said that. I was standing like in the front row, journalists, right? They're working for digital publication. I was working for the Blaze at the time. I was working with Glenn Beck and the Blaze. And I had to sit down. You realize that politics has changed forever when President Trump did something like that. When President Trump said only Rosie O'Donnell, what he proved is that you're no longer going to be able to attack us with the same type of fake, transient, nonsensical, set up attack vectors that you've been utilizing. And it changed American politics forever. Donald Trump would go on, I don't know if we have this clip in the show, boys. I'd love to get it. He'd go on to say, because you'd be in jail, using the same power, right, that he had in that moment, to flip a narrative on its head and to own the moment. Now, this is Trump 2016 energy, and you're seeing a lot of things align, much like the Trump 2016 race. You have a transactional serial killer, intersectional feminist, hire that's run for president before and failed. Remember, Hillary Clinton ran against Barack Obama and, in the words of Donald Trump, got schlonged. And now she's running again with a vengeance. Kamala Harris ran against Joe Biden, running with a vengeance. Okay. Kamala Harris got 0 votes. Kamala Harris didn't get a single delegate at the DNC. Kamala Harris didn't get a single vote this Democrat primary process. And actually, that's ultimately the problem. That's actually the clip we're going to start with today. And this is the clip that made the most news yesterday. Even though the Trump dunking clip is the best clip from the interview yesterday, and there are a lot of great clips. The clip that made the most news yesterday was Donald Trump talking about Kamala Harris. And Kamala Harris being fake. And I'll show you how to actually totally and completely dissect the DEI question that's asked of Donald Trump here, and the easiest way to unlink it from sort of the venom that is being asked from is brain shattering. But what Donald Trump does is he goes through and he says Kamala Harris is a fake candidate. She's not real. Nobody voted for her. She's created in a laboratory, right? She was christened by the Democrat Party elites, and they are using all of their media and cultural power to shove her over the finish line, completely remake who Kamala Harris wasn't. That everything is transactional, and none of these people are authentic. And this is the point that President Trump is making. This is the point that President Trump made to Hillary Clinton's face. And now, I guess I'm totally down for the debates. I'm not sure. Let me know in the comment section. Do you want the debates between Kamala and Trump? Do you think that'd be a trap? Donald Trump has every right to say no, because Donald Trump has been running against Joe Biden for 3 years, right? And they knew that Joe Biden had all these handicaps, and then they knew they were going to pull the plug on the dude. It was so easily predictable. We predicted it, and predicted it many times on this program. Who is Kamala Harris? This is the biggest problem for America, but also a huge problem for Democrats and a problem for Republicans right now. The purpose of a primary process is to get beat up, metaphorically, to get tested politically, to have, sort of your tires kicked, as it were. The point of the process is that you're going to get scrutiny. Reporters are going to ask you questions. The candidates and the colleagues that are running against you are going to ask you questions. You're going to be able to attack people like Kamala Harris attacked Joe Biden. Kamala Harris, savage mode against Joe Biden. You remember this in 2020? You're a racist. You were against busing. You were against sending little girls like me to school. You remember Kamala Harris landed the harshest blow against Joe Biden? Tulsi Gabbard went pure savage mode on Kamala Harris. The media asked all of them questions, and they had to go to these little events in the Iowa State Fair and the pork chop fry and the pancake flip. And that's what vetting is. That's what it means to actually create a candidacy, to actually have somebody go through the crucible of American politics. So you start to kind of get to who that person is. And what people decided in 2016 was that after seeing Hillary Clinton on the national stage for nigh on 3 decades, they didn't like her. This lady is a serial killer. This lady is bad. We don't like Hillary Clinton. She is a nasty woman, and she is crooked. And so we say no to her. And that was, of course, perfectly encapsulated in this clip, the most viral clip of the 2016 election.
Some of your own supporters, including Republicans on Capitol.
Hillary Clinton clip. Hillary Clinton. Here we go. Hillary Clinton. There we go. Trump, Hillary, jail.
It's just awfully good that someone with the temperament of Donald Trump is not in charge of the law in our country.
Yeah, because you'd be in jail.
Secretary Clinton.
That's the energy. That's the energy that Trump is now bringing to the election. I think Trump is starting to realize that the polls are tightening and that he's going to have to bring that back. He's going to have to, by himself, expose who Kamala Harris is, or more importantly, what she isn't, which is authentic. Now, you may argue of the value of the way that Trump did it, but this, without question, is the clip of the day yesterday. Trump saying, nobody knows who the hell Kamala Harris is. Kamala Harris doesn't know who the hell Kamala Harris is. Kamala Harris has pronounced her name multiple different ways at different times. Kamala Harris uses fake accents. And when asked about, is Kamala Harris a DEI hire, ladies and gentlemen, here's the answer.
Some of your own supporters, including Republicans on Capitol Hill, have labeled Vice President Kamala Harris, who is the first Black and Asian American woman to serve as vice president and be on a major party ticket, as a DEI hire. Is that acceptable language to you? And will you tell those Republicans and those supporters to stop it?
How do you define DEI? Go ahead. How do you define
diversity, equity, inclusion?
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Is that what your definition?
That is
give me a
literally
definition
the words
then. Would you give me a definition
DEI.
of that? Give me a definition.
Sir, I'm asking you a question, a very direct question.
Define it for me, if you would.
I just defined it, sir. Do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is only on the ticket because she is a Black woman?
Well, I can say no. I think it's maybe a little bit different. So I've known her a long time indirectly, not directly very much, and she was always of Indian heritage, and she was only promoting Indian heritage. I didn't know she was Black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn Black, and now she wants to be known as Black. So I don't know, is she Indian or is she Black?
She is always identified as a Black woman. She went to a historically Black college.
I respect either one, but she obviously doesn't, because she was Indian all the way, and then all of a sudden she made a turn, and she became a Black person.
Just to be clear, sir, do you believe
that she is... I think somebody should look into that, too, when you continue in a very hostile, nasty tone.
It's a direct question, sir. Do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is a DEI hire, as some Republicans have said?
I really don't know. I really don't know. Could be. There are some, and there are plenty. I know this lady right over there, Harris, is a fantastic person who just interviewed me at length And we had a great interview, I think, and I heard you got very good ratings on that
Well,
interview.
you told me it was the longest one of your life, so we had a good discussion.
There has been no primary process to vet out who Kamala Harris is. There has been no process other than the anointing of Kamala Harris, which is what happened when she got into the Senate, which is what's happened throughout her entire career. You can go back. These are not matters of question. These are matters of fact. The Los Angeles Times is a great example of writing up Willie Brown and Kamala Harris and the, let's just call it, transactional and deeply unethical nature of Kamala Harris's relationship with that married man, and how, in his own words, he made Kamala Harris, and how, in his own words, it was unethical, giving her Mercedeses, BMWs, appointments to state boards and commissions. What do you want from me? That's the story of Kamala Harris. And it's been transactional with Kamala Harris. It's been this chaotic and fake rise to the top for Kamala. We can prove it here. Here's this clip from Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, 2020. All right? This clip happened in a vacuum. No, not once, not a single time. And Kamala Harris has done interviews, not a lot, but some, done interviews as vice president. Not a single time has she been asked about this. Not a single time has Kamala Harris been asked about, okay, wait a second. You're working for a guy who said you can't vote for Trump if you're black. If you're black as a monolith, you have to vote for me. Can you respond to that? Like, that seems overtly racist. You yourself called Joe Biden a dirty racist that wouldn't want somebody of your skin color to go to school. This is what Kamala said. So how can you work for that guy? Did he apologize to you? Never has Kamala Harris had to face the music about this clip right here, this moment right here. Watch.
Believe, and it's personal, and I was actually it was hurtful to hear you talk about the reputations of two United States senators who built their reputations and career on the segregation of race in this country. And it was not only that, but you also worked with them to oppose busing. And, you know, there was a little girl in California who was part of the second class to integrate her public schools. And she was bused to school every day. And that little girl was me. So I will tell you that on this subject, it cannot be an intellectual debate among Democrats. We have to take it seriously. We have to act swiftly. As Attorney General of California, I was very proud to put in place a requirement that all my special agents would wear body cameras and keep those cameras on.
Senator Harris, thank you. Vice President Biden, you have been invoked. We are going to give you a chance to respond. Vice President Biden.
So, has anybody ever asked Kamala Harris about that moment? Like, pretty cool moment. Interesting rewatching it. Did Kamala Harris believe what she was saying? Was Kamala Harris trying desperately to, like, get more than 0.1%? 0.001%. There we go. Statistics class for you. Was she trying to get more than 800 votes, which is all the votes she got in that primary? She didn't get a single delegate. Kamala Harris was coming for the guy who was polling better than her, and that's what happened. Did she believe any of it? You know, real questions would beg of Kamala Harris, like, hey, lady, how are you serving for this guy that didn't want you to go to school? This guy that said, like, black people, they have to vote for him, otherwise they're not their race. People are calling Donald Trump racist for what he said yesterday about Kamala Harris being a fake, right? Okay, Donald Trump's inarticulate in the way he says something. Don't care. The point of it is that nobody really knows who Kamala Harris is because she didn't actually have a primary process. Nobody actually voted for her. And she's being shoved down our throats and down the country's throats by the corporate press that is pulling the Obama job on her in a pretty shocking role reversal for Kamala Harris professionally. And so this is what the problem is. This is why we're so confused about Kamala Harris, somebody who grew up in Quebec, Canada, somebody who I think parlez-vous français, I think, I've never heard her speak French, but I think she does. Kamala Harris clearly, on the hard streets of Quebec, speaks more French than she would Ebonics. Yet here's what she sounds like at an Atlanta rally just a day ago. Go.
And you all helped us win in 2020, and we're going to do it again in 2024. Yes, we will. Yes.
2024. Travel south of the Mason-Dixon line and you become Foghorn Leghorn. Just boom! There you go. It's a transition. What are you going to do? You're an extra in Gone with the Wind. It's amazing how this all works. Little kids from Quebec having that like deep, low Southern drawl. It's not the first time we've heard Kamala do it, but Kamala only does it when she's speaking with certain audiences, which is, of course, so unbelievably insulting to those audiences. Here's another example.
I said to the congressman, I didn't know he could preach like that.
It's so embarrassing. But it also is sad because you aren't a real person, right? Like, everything you've done in life has been power gobbling, has been transactional, to the point of you not knowing who you are. The point of, like, your craven desire for power is going to be your undoing. There's this famous clip, and the election has gone from like a schoolyard, back of the schoolyard beating between Donald Trump and a like special needs Joe Biden. Okay, that's almost like hard to watch because Trump's doing so well, to 2016. You need to recalibrate and reset. We are now back in 2016. The chessboard is very similar. People don't know as much about Kamala Harris, but they're trying to do the same magic on her as they did with Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton. They're going to try the same playbook. And that's why it's so important for us to like recognize how 2016 was possible, how that win was possible. These are razor close win in a lot of these races. What was it? What were the things that got Trump over the line? There's this amazing clip of Trump versus Hillary where, and I know we don't have it loaded, but it's one of my favorites, where Hillary is like, you cheated the tax system. And Trump goes, you wrote the tax system, lady. It's you and your donors that wrote the tax system. Don't come for me. I'm just the dude with a building and a couple golf courses and some steaks and bad vodka. This is Trump vodka. We were able to get our hands on a bottle of Trump vodka back in the day. It was crazy. Don't recommend. But that clip, while not as viral, like, is the clip that sort of like exposed who Hillary was. Hillary was trying to like rewrite her own history. She was trying to say, hey, I'm like this sweet outsider, and like, all the boom clap, hallelujah energy, all these Hollywood people are singing songs about me. And this is just one of those moments where like Trump like just digs in and rips the bark off of her. Our incredible production team actually does have the clip, ladies and gentlemen, as it loads. This is the moment, and this is the kind of energy that Trump is now going to bring strategically against Kamala Harris. Rip the bark off, and so say like, you've just been a cretinous, transactional, bureaucratic parasite for your entire life. And everything you're going to criticize me for is your fault, right? Kamala Harris is now trying to run against Trump on the border. She's running on to the right of Trump on the border. This is a tactic for Kamala Harris. That's why they lost their minds when Kamala Harris was reported as the border czar, and then we re-reported that as the coup took hold. Here, ladies and gentlemen, is that moment, and this is the Trump energy that we're seeing again, and we need desperately back.
And she could have done this years ago, by the way. She was a United States Senator. She complains that Donald Trump took advantage of the tax code. Well, why didn't she change it? Why didn't you change it when you were a senator? The reason you didn't is that all your friends take the same advantage that I do. And I do. You have provisions in the tax code that, frankly, we could change. But you wouldn't change it because all of these people give you the money so you can take negative ads on Donald Trump.
You're the problem. So you're the problem that we seek to get rid of. Like, this is effective messaging. And now that the entire table's been changed, right? We've been running against Joe Biden for such a long time. Now that the table's been totally reset, there's going to have to be a recalibration here, right? Like, you're running now against a totally different animal. It was always about, like, Joe Biden, and he's so corrupt, and his dirty family, and he's so old, and he's incompetent. And Kamala Harris isn't tripping down the stairs. She can't speak. She doesn't know what she's saying. She doesn't know who she is. But she is the cause of all of our problems, meaning she has been a lifelong barnacle, bureaucrat, parasite her entire life, never done anything good anywhere she's been. Go check in on San Francisco, where she was DA, or the state of California. How is that doing? How's the last 4 years been? Like, lady, you were in the White House for 4 years. You're going to criticize Trump on the border? You've been in the White House for 4 years, and we've all seen Joe Biden. You're clearly the one making the decisions. It is a moment in time that there needs to be a massive recalibration, and then also a vision cast for Donald Trump. Now, is playing identity politics the right way to do that? I don't know. I don't think so. I got to tell you, I personally think that playing the identity politics game is exactly where they want us. So we're going to do our best not to play it here, but we will call out the absurdities and the insanity of running somebody who is legitimately just a cutout. And so as a cutout, the most valuable thing you can be as a cutout is somebody who stands there for your paymasters and pushes forward the policies of the people who really don't have the best in mind for you and your country. The deep state, the permanent bureaucratic state, the ghost in the machine, as we call it. And this is what Kamala Harris is. She's a stand-in for that cutout. Obama, the same thing. Obama, the same thing. And actually, you could go back in time and see a lot of presidents in that same mold until you get to Donald Trump. This is why ads like these are so effective. This is an ad that is the most viral ad of 2024. I think it's I can confidently say that. We watch every ad. We've seen every ad. We track every ad. This is the most viral ad of 2024, and it's not even an official ad. This is a parody of Kamala Harris using Kamala AI voice that Elon Musk shared, and Elon Musk has gotten 150 million views on this ad alone. It is hysterical, and it's why it works, ladies and gentlemen. This is like Kamala Harris being the cutout that she is, the fake candidate, Commie Kamala. I do like that, Commie Kamala, and we've been testing this. We'll maybe call her Camilla. Camilla just has a different connotation. Commie Kamala, I do like Commie Kamala. We're gonna work on it. Let me know. Do we have a poll up? Hey Alex, let's do a poll. What do we want? We want Kamala, Commie Kamala, Camilla. What are we gonna name? What are we gonna name Kamala Harris? And then one final one, user's choice. Robbie, you better have a good one ready for that. So what are we gonna do here? You're gonna make ads against it, I guess. Like, this is a good start. There's a reason why this ad is so thermonuclear viral. Here we go. The best ad and most viral ad of 2024. Here we go.
Hi, Kamala Harris, and your Democrat candidate for president, because Joe Biden finally exposed his senility at the debate. Thanks, Joe. I was selected because I am the ultimate diversity hire. I'm both a woman and a person of color. So if you criticize anything I say, you're both sexist and racist. I may not know the first thing about running the country, but remember, that's a good thing if you're a deep state puppet. I had 4 years under the tutelage of the ultimate deep state puppet, a wonderful mentor, Joe Biden. Joe taught me rule number 1, carefully hide your total incompetence. I take insignificant things and I discuss them as if they're significant. And I believe that exploring the significance of the insignificant is in itself significant.
Talking about the significance of the passage of time, right? The significance of the passage of time. So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time, and there is such great significance to the passage of time.
Another trick is trying to sound black. I pretend to celebrate Kwanzaa, and in my speeches, I always do my best Barack Obama impression.
So hear me when I say, I know Donald Trump's type.
And okay, look, maybe my work addressing the root causes of the border crisis were catastrophic, but my knowledge of international politics is truly shocking.
The United States shares a very important relationship, which is an alliance with the Republic of North Korea. It is an alliance that is strong and enduring.
And just remember, when voting this November, it is important to see what can be, unburdened by what has been. And by what has been, I mean Joe Biden. You think the country went to shit over the past 4 years? You ain't seen nothing yet.
Gillette. Yeah, shout out to the creator who made that. I think it's USA Reagan. Let's get the actual handle up. So that's why that went viral. It goes, truth resonates, right? So these pithy little corporately made attack ads that I'm not a fan of, right? Those don't go viral. These do go viral because they get truly to the nature of the problem. And the nature of the problem is that Kamala Harris hasn't been vetted. She didn't go through a primary process. Nobody voted for her. She's being shoved down the throats of Democrat voters by their elites, and that's the way they like it. Give me more, daddy. That's the way they like it. They love it that way. They don't like to think for themselves. You know this. They don't like to think for themselves. They like corporate programming. And they like having whatever microchip taken right out of the back of their head. But ironically, they like having those chips replaced. New programming uploaded. Okay? I believe the corporate media. It's really great sheep-like behavior because you just get to bray and get fed and get to live in slop all day, and you never have to make any critical decisions for yourself. Consume more product. Don't think about it. Just consume product and get ready for next product, right? It's programming. It's the Matrix. So all the Matrix people are happy about Kamala Harris because they've been told to be happy about Kamala Harris. People like us are saying, hold on, this is more of a threat than Joe Biden is, and the polls are tightening because the programming works better with Kamala Harris on especially low IQ people. You saw the twerk fest that Kamala Harris threw just the other day in Atlanta, where she had rappers legitimately twerking on stage. And people clapped. They clapped, right? Programming, man. So that's the difference between you and them. It's the difference between us and them. And it's something that, like, we're going to, it's a different fight now. The programming didn't work for Joe Biden because he was a broken product. And you can only sell a broken product so long before people are like, this is trash, right? You can maybe fool some idiots. You can fool, right? That was 2020. But you can't sell you can't continue on with the product or the food that makes everyone sick. And so they had to throw out the product, bring in a new one. Doesn't really matter who it is. Kamala Harris has a shine on her. Let's go. So that's how they did it. Now it's amazing how Kamala Harris has been ridiculed up to this point. The attack vectors on Kamala Harris have been obvious and easy. Reporters have been actually tough on her in interviews, and we have a long series of clips of reporters like asking her tough questions and her just like collapsing underneath them. Far left-wing reporters. Kamala Harris isn't intelligent. She wouldn't stand up to somebody actually looking through and asking her tough questions like, why'd you serve for this racist guy that you said's a big fat racist? Why'd you serve for him? Like Joe Biden said black people can't vote for Trump. Are you okay with that, Kamala? Do you agree with that? Like, is that how you think of black people? You use fake accents around them, so maybe you don't think too highly of that population. I don't know. You answer the question. You're the candidate, right? So this is Trump. This is Trump in the crucible. So compliments Trump going into the crucible and answering these questions. This is how obvious it's been. This is how obvious it's been for Kamala, the incompetence of Kamala Harris. Babylon Bee had a great skit on it. Let's just play like the first minute of the Babylon Bee skit. This is good.
Hi, I'm Oliver Bartholomew, and I'm 16 and a half years old, and I'm the speechwriter for Kamala Harris. My mommy and daddy say if you find a job you love, you'll never have to work a day in your life. Morning, Frank.
Yeah, hey, Oliver.
And my parents were right. Ever since I was little, I liked words. Writing words is fun, so I made writing words my job. Every politics person has a writer, like me, to make good words for them to say.
Space is exciting. Space, it affects us all. And it connects us all.
I got that idea when I was thinking about space and how big it is. Man, it's big. It's not all fun, though. Sometimes I have to write about bad stuff, like war.
Ukraine is...
For this. Okay. All right. So, easy to parody. Parody is indistinguishable from reality. It's something that can properly define the year 2024. But it's not just the Babylon Bee. It's not just Elon Musk. Up till just extremely recent history, it's been Comedy Central making fun of Kamala Harris. This is from comedy, like far extreme left-wing Comedy Central, open season on ridiculing Kamala. Here we go.
Talking about the significance of the passage of time, right? The significance of the passage of time. So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time.
Seems like maybe it's a small issue, it's a big issue. You need to get to go, and need to be able to get where you need to go to do the work and get home.
It is time for us to do what we have been doing, and that time is every day. Every day it is time for us to agree that
she's come so far since our first session. My name is Dahlia Rose Hibiscus, and I am Vice President Kamala Harris's Holistic Thought Advisor. What is a Holistic Thought Advisor? Well, it's holistic, yes, and I am advising. And what do we mean when we say that? It means that I am the one by whom the thoughts are being advised from a place of advisement, and then once advised, communicated holistically.
What?
You get it. I lead the vice president.
So, that was allowed. This was allowed. For years, people made fun of Kamala Harris and reporters asked very tough questions of her. Now, have you seen any interviews with Kamala? They're hiding her away. The goal here is to shove her, legitimately hyperdrive the Biden basement and shove her away. No interviews, no long speeches. Her speech the other night was less than 30 minutes in Atlanta. Now, maybe that was because people were streaming out of the auditorium because the rapper had stopped twerking, right? But this is a problem. Having Kamala Harris, exposing who Kamala Harris is a major issue for Democrats. And on the other side, there is maximum exposure for President Trump. We all watch his ear get blown off. We all watch a bullet go through his ear. We watch the recovery. We've seen so much about his family and who he is, his policies. And Donald Trump walked into the lion's den yesterday. So these are good and clear separations that I think the voters get. Meanwhile, there's a lot of noise that's going to be made. Clang, 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 a lot of banging in the pots. But the corporate press, by polls and things like that, and I don't need you to get blackpilled. Do not get blackpilled. All right? They're going to do the same thing that they did with Hillary and they did with Obama. Inevitability. The Washington Post cover, Donald Trump has approached 0% chance of winning the election. November 6, 2016. Yet I chose to be at Donald Trump's party that night in New York because I still believed. I was one of the few reporters that went to Donald. You had a choice, right? You go to Hillary Clinton's party, you go to Donald Trump's party. And you have to choose one because Secret Service, you lock you in. And I went there and I got locked in and I chose right. Because I said, man, I don't think people are going to buy this. I think all the hype, all the cotton candy, it's all fake. And ladies and gentlemen, we were right then, and we can be right again as long as you finish strong. Now, they're hiding Kamala Harris because they're ashamed. We, on the other hand, are letting Donald Trump, and it's not we, the royal we, let Donald Trump go in to speak to the National Association of Black Journalists yesterday, knowing that he's walking into a lion's den, as it were, the man in the arena. Donald Trump strolls in, sits down, and gets this question first and just knocks it out of the park. Arguably, this is my favorite Trump interview moment. My favorite Trump moment is, of course, going to be the fight on the stage after getting shot, crimson blood streaking down his face. My favorite interview moment of the 2024 election is this. This is in Cooperstown. Here we go. Donald Trump yesterday.
I want to start by addressing the elephant in the room, sir. A lot of people did not think it was appropriate for you to be here today. You have pushed false claims about some of your rivals, from Nikki Haley to former President Barack Obama, saying that they were not born in the United States, which is not true. You have told 4 congresswomen of color who were American citizens to go back to where they came from. You have used words like animal and rabid to describe black district attorneys. You've attacked black journalists, calling them a loser, saying the questions that they ask are, quote, stupid and racist. You've had dinner with a white supremacist at your Mar-a-Lago resort. So my question, sir, now that you are asking black supporters to vote for you, why should black voters trust you after you have used language like that?
Well, first of all, I don't think I've ever been asked a question in such a horrible manner. First question. You don't even say, hello, how are you? Are you with ABC? Because I think they're a fake news network, a terrible network. And I think it's disgraceful that I came here in good spirit. I love the black population of this country. I've done so much for the black population of this country, including employment, including opportunity zones with Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina, which is one of the greatest programs ever for black workers and black entrepreneurs. I've done so much, and and I say this, historically black colleges and universities were out of money, they were stone cold broke, and I saved them, and I gave them long-term financing, and nobody else was doing it. I think it's a very rude introduction. I don't know exactly why you would do something like that. And let me go a step further. I was invited here, and I was told my opponent, whether it was Biden or Kamala, I was told my opponent was going to be here. It turned out my opponent isn't here. You invited me under false pretense. And then you said, you can't do it with Zoom. Well, where's Zoom? She's going to do it with Zoom, and she's not coming. And then you were half an hour late. Just so we understand, I have too much respect for you to be late. They couldn't get their equipment working or something was wrong.
Mr. President, I would love if you can answer the question on your rhetoric and why you believe that black voters should trust you with another 4
I have
years.
been the best president for the black population since Abraham Lincoln. That's my answer.
Better than President Johnson, who signed the Voting Rights Act?
And for you to start off a question and answer period, especially when you're 35 minutes late because you couldn't get your equipment to work, in such a hostile manner, I think it's a disgrace.
Let me just ask a follow-up, sir, and then we'll move on to other questions here.
And talk about taking the venom out of something. Talk about the best answer that Trump has given to any interview question this election cycle. Sage Steele is one of our favorite commentators. She was formerly of ESPN, and Sage Steele had such a sharp take on all of this. Unprofessional, she says, petty, totally uncalled for. Let's put aside her role as a journalist for a moment and consider human element of this. What a disgraceful way to start a conversation, much less such an important interview. She immediately set the tone with such a negative way and ruined what could have been a productive conversation. Talk about a missed opportunity. So disappointing that she chose to handle it this way, and yet another example of why Americans shouldn't trust the media. Yeah, it is. You never hear that tone. It is boggling to the mind. Did you ever hear an interview with Joe Biden given in that tone? Did you ever? Hi, Senator Biden, or Vice President Biden. You said you didn't want your kids to go to racial jungles. You've used the N-word multiple times in Senate committee hearings. You yourself said that black people aren't black unless they vote for you. Your own vice president called you a racist and said that you were against girls with her skin color going to school. You called Barack Obama clean and storybook as a black man. Your words, they're on tape. Are you a racist? Right? Like, are you a racist? Your son, when he was kicked out of the Navy for crack cocaine, blamed 2 black guys for bumming him a cigarette laced with crack. That's in his autobiography. Oh, my bad. When your son was caught throwing a firearm into a garbage can, he blamed 2 Mexicans, calling them probably illegals. It's in the police report. It's in the federal documentation, and Hunter Biden was found guilty of that. Hunter Biden will face those charges until, of course, Joe Biden commutes them. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is like, this is what you're up against. Trump's not going to get a fair shake, so this is why it's so important to vision cast the difference between Donald Trump in the last 4 years. A lot of this stuff they're going to really try and like get hooks into Donald Trump and distract him and drag him down with with little battles that don't mean anything. But the larger scale battles are what matters. The larger scale battles is what are the 2 visions for both candidates. Ladies and gentlemen, joining us now is someone who has truly cast the vision for President Trump, who worked as Donald Trump's Director of National Intelligence and also a esteemed ambassador in the first Trump term. The great Richard Grenell joins the program now. How you doing, Rick? What's going on, man?
Hey,
good seeing you at the RNC.
Yeah, good to see you. A little crazy morning with this prisoner swap going on. Lots of details coming out. Not good, not good.
Yeah, not good all around the world. I mean, I guess that's where that's your strong suit, obviously, as the ambassador to Germany, a director of national intelligence. This is something that maybe you could educate the audience about this prisoner swap out of Russia. That we just gave up a bunch of other like murderers, killers, and terrorists.
I've just literally been about to send a tweet out. Let me read you my draft tweet.
We love it.
That is just about to go out. You and your folks are getting this early.
Okay.
I just am really troubled. Of course, we have to say, families of prisoners and hostages, the families. And I've been through this a lot. I've represented families when I was outside the government. I've met with families when I was inside the government. 2 different hats that you have to wear. The families of prisoners and hostages absolutely need to be free to do whatever they can to get their loved ones back. They are not bound by the moral code of what's good for the rest of Americans. They don't have to worry about the precedent that it sets. They want their loved one home, and they should be as vigilant, passionate, and pushy as possible. I get that. And I've worked with families in doing that. And that requires challenging the government, shaming the government, and just singularly focus on getting your loved one home because they're your loved one. At the same time, public policy officials have a responsibility to make sure they don't make decisions that are somehow going to put all of Americans or the West at risk. We don't want the slippery slope or the precedent set that the bad guys, leaders from hostile countries are going to grab journalists, Americans, or innocents to somehow use them as collateral later on to get their terrorists back. But unfortunately, that's what just happened. So here's my draft tweet. I was the U.S. ambassador to Germany when Russian intel agent Vadim Krasikov rode his bike past a Chechen man sitting in the park and murdered him in broad daylight 1 mile from the U.S. embassy in Berlin where I sat. It was a planned, staged attack from Poland. Jake Sullivan recently asked the Germans to release the terrorist back to Russia in exchange for a Wall Street Journal reporter and a few others. Putin has just learned that the West will send his terrorists back home to Russia after they kill their enemies. This is terrible for other journalists. If I'm an American journalist in a foreign country right now, I would be very nervous about what this means, because you can just grab those journalists. There were multiple journalists released, by the way, in this attack. There was a Radio Free Europe journalist who was also freed from Russia. We have been told by the media for 4 years that Putin was a terrible person and going to do all sorts of terrible things in our elections, and that he would manipulate elections. And then we had the war in Ukraine, and all we ever heard was no one should deal with the Russians ever. And what has happened now is that we have this massive exchange because Putin wanted his terrorist home. They went to Germany. They killed a man in a park by riding past. I was there. I remember every detail about it. And I ran our intel office out of the embassy. So they reported to me, and I knew every detail of what had just happened. And some of the reports are true and some of the reports are not true, but I can confirm that the media was correct, that this Russian terrorist rode his bike past this guy sitting on a park bench, murdered him, kept going through the bike in the bushes, and then took off. The Germans were very slow in doing an investigation, and we pushed them very hard to find this. We knew it was a Russian plot in the middle of Berlin. And now we see that all these years later, after the Germans were pushed and they actually did an investigation and they arrested the guy and they put him in prison, now the Germans are helping Joe Biden and Kamala Harris by giving up this terrorist in a German prison in order to please Putin, while Putin is pushing a war in Ukraine on their border. Shame on the German government. Shame on Jake Sullivan for putting this deal together. And we have to finish where we started. Of course, all of these individuals who are coming home, their families are ecstatic, and their families maneuvered and did the right thing to bring them home. I do not blame these families one bit. I've been in their shoes, and you work really hard to bring them home. But shame on the government officials who just created a precedent of dealing with Vladimir Putin. Let me finish by saying this, Benny. What do you think Vladimir Putin has just learned about this whole system of how the West is going to release his terrorists?
To put a target on any American and any American journalist, any American with higher profile, put a target on every single one of us anytime you step outside, perhaps inside of the American borders, right?
The price has just been increased.
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay, weakness is obviously a foreign policy tentpole for the Biden administration, and you talk about grieving families and tortured families and families wishing to get their loved ones back. But over the last 24 hours, Rick, we just learned that thousands of families that, of course, will never get their loved ones back, including families who sent their sons and daughters off to fight in global wars on terror, will be seeing no justice out of our own government when it comes to the people who brought 9/11 onto the 9/11 atrocity onto the shores of America, killing nearly 3,000 Americans that day, and creating a modern world of horrors for all of us to live in, unthinkable. So the news here is that the government decided to spare the lives of the masterminds behind September 11th and let them live out their days on the taxpayer dime in prison. Why we're doing plea deals with terrorists and the most evil terrorists that have ever walked the earth, Rick, I guess is a question for the former director of national intelligence.
Look, this is one of those situations that the bar is incredibly high. To think about doing some sort of a plea deal with individuals who created and plotted and implemented, operationalized the, terrorist attack on America in our lifetime, in my lifetime and in your lifetime, the worst one ever, which fundamentally changed everything about America, our security, the process to fly. We created all sorts of extra rules to be able to make sure that this never happens again. Thousands of people killed. I had a friend killed on 9/11. She died as a brand new, first time back from maternity leave, going to a work event, flying from Boston to LA. She was on flight 11. Her young baby and husband were forever changed. They have felt this. The families have felt this. To have a U.S. official somehow be so callous to this incredible terrorist attack in America and do a plea deal, I think to be that individual that decides to cut that plea deal, you have to be pretty cold and calculating that somehow you're going to get away with this and justify it morally because the guy has served enough time. I don't know what the thinking is. That bar is so high. I certainly would have never been a part of it. I think the whole situation of punishment after a terrorist attack does, challenge all of our moral compasses to think, how long is somebody supposed to be there? Are we supposed to give them the death penalty? I tend to think, Benny, that we have rules and we have to follow the rules. And if you don't like the rule, then you have to lobby to change the rule. But the rules are the death penalty. And yet we found ourselves, 20 plus years later, still lingering, not giving someone the death penalty. And so, I struggle with, you don't want to be harsh and devoid of any feelings. But I do think that in these situations, it's good to think about the precedent and what this means. And if we have a rule that someone is supposed to get the death penalty, then that person should get the death penalty.
You asked the prescient question about what does this project to the rest of the world. What does this project to the rest of the world, to terrorists who are inside of our borders right now that we know of? The suspicious people's list continues to grow by the day exponentially with these border policies. What does this project? What does this say to them, Rick, when they could spend the rest of their lives like eating meals prepared by a private chef after killing? Well, it's not just the 3,000 people on September 11th. You have to look at both theaters of war in Afghanistan, Iraq, and around the world. You're talking hundreds of thousands of people, at least, on both sides. And these guys are going to get life inside of the Ritz when it comes to the rest of their days that they'll spend. Private chefs walking around a prison yard.
I try to, in situations like this that are horrible and terrible and bad choices all the way around, I try not to lose sight of the emotion. But I think you have to also be focused on justice. I'm a Christian and I'm really taught about trying to find the balance between justice and mercy, right? We have the great example every morning, renewed mercies. And I love that concept. And it's something that drives me every single day. However, I do believe that governments have a responsibility they're not God. They're not supposed to be the ones that are handing out mercy so quickly. That's God's role. And what I would say is our responsibility to the rest of the world is to articulate what the rules are and then follow the rules. and not be bloodthirsty, but to make sure that we follow the rules, because our rules are set up so that we Americans are safer and more prosperous. And when we don't follow the rules and somehow allow a bureaucracy to manipulate the rules, whether it's sanctuary cities or rulings on the death penalty, if you don't like the rule, go change the rule. But we should not have systems that go around our laws, people jumping lines at the border, I'm thinking of. We should not be calling this sanctuary cities when people are ignoring federal laws to commit crimes, and somehow we nicen it up with language. And when we say that there is a death penalty for committing terrorist acts, then I think there should be the death penalty. Not because we're bloodthirsty. Again, it's because we want to follow the rules and send out to the world a rules-based system. The rule of law is important.
Yeah. So Kamala Harris and the Kamala Harris regime, as we'll call it from now on, they must have signed off on this, right? Like, there's no way that they were able to strike this deal. And
there's no possible way that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris were not briefed on both of these deals. Of course, it has direct impact on the power that they seek to come back to the White House. They don't do these things in a vacuum. There is probably a real shady way that they were briefed, but there's no record of it, so that they could play games and pretend like it wasn't their decision. But watch the words very carefully, because if they actually come forward and say, we didn't know anything about it, I think that they're lying. If they play a game and say, this was not my decision, I was told of the decision or something, then that's code word for we were briefed before it happened and we could have stopped it, but we didn't.
So would President Trump have ever signed off on this deal?
First of all, I think you just go back to what we have, which is 4 years of President Trump's record, and he didn't do it, right? There were all sorts of calls to have something done with Guantanamo, to get rid of the prisoners, somehow send them back. I do think that the strategy of trying to get some of the prisoners sent back to their home countries, where their home countries would put them in prison forever and pay for it, was a good strategy. But there were times that individuals were, the deal was presented where individuals would go back under home arrest, or the country would watch them, type of stuff. And that was all shenanigans and switcheroos. That wasn't ever going to be a serious thing, and those were rejected.
So do you believe that Bibi Netanyahu met with Kamala Harris, said, holy crap, boys, we better kill the leader of Hamas right now before potentially this lady comes into power?
Look, I think those conversations would be incredibly difficult to make. Israel needs to coordinate with the United States. So again, it's one of those things that I think the coordination was at a lower level, and it gave the ability for someone like Kamala Harris to play both sides, to pretend like she didn't know anything, but also to have the ability to veto it. I don't see Israel keeping the United States government from top to bottom completely in the dark. I don't think that would happen. They would need to have some sort of heads up. And whether or not that heads up was specifically shared as a, hey, we're going to do this, are you signing off? Or be prepared, this is coming. I don't know the answer to that.
Okay. Well, we'd like for you to know the answer. We'd like to have you back. Rick, we'd really like to have you back as the director, ambassador, really anything, quite frankly, because we miss you, and we miss these policies that made the world a safer place and put less of a target on American backs, because they knew the hell that would follow if you did. We miss the Soleimani strikes, and we miss peace around the world, and everything's gone to hell over the last 3.5 years, and we want you back. Can you vision cast for us in conclusion here, Rick? Like getting Trump back into the White House, what does that look like through November, and then day one of the inauguration?
Look, I'll just stick to getting Trump elected, because I think that's the focus. I'm working really hard in the swing states, trying to do everything that we can. The reality is that it's pretty simple for me when you look at gas prices, and open border, grocery prices, and wars. And I think we just have to talk very specifically about President Trump's very successful policies. And he's the outsider, and the bureaucracy doesn't want him back. They want a puppet. They want somebody like Kamala Harris. They wanted somebody like Joe Biden. What does Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have in common? One was totally senile and let all of the staffers do the work. The other one is not smart enough to know who's doing the work and just wants to talk about crazy radical things like getting rid of meat because it's bad for the environment. And so they're both puppets of the very powerful Washington, D.C. system. That is the theme. They want somebody weak. And by the way, so does Putin. So does Kim Jong-un. All of our enemies want someone weak in that White House. They don't want someone strong. That's why Vladimir Putin endorsed Joe Biden. He wanted somebody very predictable. He's probably thrilled that Kamala Harris could become the president. He would walk circles around her, which is why he pushed for this deal and got a big gift from the Biden-Harris campaign, from the Biden-Harris administration for their campaign by delivering this deal. And, Vladimir Putin got his terrorist back home. So I think we've got to be very serious about her record, focus on her record, not on her laugh, not on her style, not on who she is, but her record of policies. She is a radical San Francisco Democrat, and we need to constantly message that.
Yeah. I think I'm hopefully picking up a bit of a message shift here from the campaign in the last 96 days. 96 days, Rick. This is incredible. This is Mr. Ambassador.
Get to work.
Yeah. No kidding. We need this energy back. Our favorite moment from President Trump. This moment back is the best. This was the best. This is what we want back, Rick. We thank you for bringing us that. We know you had a hand in this, but this was like Pax Americana. This was like the defining moment of President Trump making peace with a nation that we are technically at war with. This was.
I want to say one point about that because I think it's really important for all these foreign policy types that don't get it. Yeah. Talking is a tactic. It's not the goal. And you should never assume that just because you talk to someone that somehow it's going to produce a weak moment. Donald Trump knows how to talk to people, ask exactly for what is best for America, and convince people. He's credible on this to convince people to do it. You see that when he went forward and spoke to Kim Jong-un directly to him, talking is a tactic, and the tactic worked because we had the North Koreans literally calm way down. I get Otto Warmbier's family, which I know Cindy very well, and they get very uncomfortable that someone is treating Kim Jong-un this way. I get that. But what I would say to people who are skeptical is Donald Trump understands more than anyone that talking is a tactic, and he is doing these types of things to make sure that America is safe and for no other reason.
Yes. This is such a profound moment. And anybody who hates that moment, anybody who sees something wrong with making peace and like bringing the temperature down, they don't have your best interests in mind. And we've seen the results of that for the last 3 years. The world's in flames. And so we need you back, Rick. Everybody follow Rick. Obviously, millions do. And you can check in on his bangers, the ones that he's writing and revealing to us exclusively on this program.
Get ready. I'm about to go fact check it one more time, and then I'll throw it out there.
All right, there we go. The great Rick Gurnell, ladies and gentlemen. Godspeed, Ambassador.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is something that is, there's so much going on that it's hard to keep up. And so this is what we were going to lead the show with, but what can you do? The news cycle, they used to call it a 24-hour news cycle. Now it's like a 24-second news cycle. It's you got to have the attention span of a gnat, goldfish in this environment. We're often caught and trapped by having too much news to report. But this is one we cannot skip today. This is the video that proves that the Secret Service allowed the assassin to creep up to President Trump and scope out everything that was happening with President Trump and to put a a mark on the president for minutes above the roofline in Butler, Pennsylvania. Ladies and gentlemen, this is crazy new footage of Thomas Crooks. We believe it to be Thomas Crooks. There are many saying maybe this proves that there's a second shooter. Someone's going to have to give us the evidence, actually, to prove that. We're not going to try and prove a negative. But what you can see in this footage is a figure that is crawling on the rooftop right next to Trump and is exposing his entire head and torso. And the video is not of the highest quality that you could zoom in and see the firearm, but it is assumed that he's holding a firearm here. Check this out.
And so we're going to bring him up for Should we bring him up for a couple of minutes? The world will see a vibrant Republican Party.
So I want that playing beside me here as we talk through this. The Secret Service has said that there was no way that they could get a line of sight on Thomas Crooks because of the ridge line of the building. Now, sloped roofs have become like a joke. There is a slope on the roof, and I guess if you are a highly trained and very sophisticated, very small profile assassin, that you would be able to climb that roof and stay as flat against it as possible and make it hard to take a counter shot on you. Because the counter shot is coming from a building behind President Trump, looking down. So you could use the roof line for cover. Is this making sense geometrically? You could technically climb up the slope of the roof. I've stood on it. I've stood in Thomas Crooks's blood. The slope of the roof is like about here. This would be about the grade of the roof. All right? Like a wheelchair ramp. A wheelchair ramp at Red Lobster. Okay? This is the grade of the roof. Not trying to make light of this, but like the idea that this was so dangerous, the slope on the roof was so dangerous, no one could be on it. It's insane. The Secret Service has held, including in Senate hearings this week, that Thomas Crooks laid flat and prone against that roof and used the roof line as cover and was able to get his 8 shots off on President Trump in such a way that their counter sniper team couldn't see him. That is a lie. And we now know that is a lie due to this video, where you can see Thomas Crooks moving very speedily and obviously along the roofline, and then exposing his entire torso to a counter sniper team. Now, this is being filmed in very poor quality. This is not 4K footage. In poor quality by like an Android phone, like an old one, an old Nokia. I don't know what phone this is. I'm not trying to knock the guy. It's just not. This is not super high quality footage. And even on this low quality phone footage, you can see clearly Thomas Crooks. How much better would the most sophisticated and expensive scopes be at spotting this individual and smoking this individual? How much easier would it be for a trained sniper to see and to neutralize? This is obvious. Every passing day, this looks more like an intentional setup. I know there's some people that aren't willing to go there. We will go there. You are going to have to prove to us that it wasn't. And that's what we need, a full investigation, a true investigation. There's also, and to make this very obvious, footage clear as day of Thomas Crooks wobbling and wandering around that roof. We say it like that because he's not a particularly athletic individual, and he's really obvious. And he was seen hours before the shooting. The other reason why this footage is so damning, before we show you this other new Fox News footage that they got from an attendee at the rally, the other reason why this footage is so damning is, why was this the only angle? Why wasn't there somebody covering that roof? We've asked this question ad nauseum. We're going to release a documentary on this program very soon about what our investigation found when we went to Ground Zero there, a place that we're going to call the Trump Kill Box, because this is a Trump Kill Box. This is designed so that anyone could shoot at President Trump. It's designed that way. We'll show you all of the breakdowns in security, and it's going to blow your mind, for lack of a better term there. Apologies. What explanation can you possibly have? Final thing. Do you know that this is just one of 7 rooftops within reasonable sniper range of President Trump that were left unguarded? That there were other, like, easily accessible rooftops with no police a little further away, so technically it's a harder shot, but not for a trained sniper, not for a state actor, not for somebody who's been trained. These snipers are trained at 2,000 yards. This is 100 yards. These snipers are trained at extreme distances, and there are buildings that are 300 and 400 yards away that would be nothing for a trained sniper to hit Trump, who's a large target, right? He's like 6'3", 6'4". President Trump's our 3rd tallest president in history. He's wearing a giant red hat. It was a setup, ladies and gentlemen. It looks like it. It just looks like you're gonna have to get to the truth. You have to ask uncomfortable questions, and there's no such thing as an incorrect question. Skeptics can never be wrong. You have to ask. You have to be skeptical, and you have to say, like, what are the motivations here? And after all of these testimonies and hearings, it's quite clear that the motivations of these people, the last on the list is protecting Donald Trump. The last on the list is protecting President Trump. Here's Fox News footage, clear as day, from the base of the building of the shooter.
We just obtained exclusive new video of the assassination attempt 10 days ago. It is the clearest and closest video we've seen yet, taken by an eyewitness who was there with his family next to the AGR building as Thomas Crooks opened fire. You can hear 8 shots, what sounds like 8 shots, followed by 2 counter sniper shots, including the kill shot from the Secret Service. Watch and listen. At one point, Thomas Crooks points his rifle at the eyewitness and those rally goers. This is what he told us about security on that day.
Definitely wasn't secure. I'm actually ex-military. One of the first things I noticed when we walked up, I'm like, none of us have been vetted. We're all along the fence. We all have view of the stage. We can see Trump.
We all have view of the stage. I can show you that position, by the way. I can show you the fence line. You could see it right here. Here is how close that you could get to President Trump on that day without any security, without anybody asking, who are you? What do you have in that giant bag? What are you carrying with you? You could have wheeled up suitcases. You could have set up tents. You could have literally put up like a tent shade that you bring to the beach, brought in some coolers of rocket-propelled grenades, and nobody would have stopped you. And you can see, of course, President Trump there, less than 100 yards. That's 80 yards away. Really? This is why you have to go investigate for yourself, because they're never going to show you that. The other thing that was released this week was this footage. Finally, we get footage from somebody who was directly in front of the building. And you can see here, this is minutes before Thomas Crooks took his first shot. You can see authorities and police officers surround the building. So don't tell me they didn't know the guy was there. This is before any shots were fired. You can see the authorities, there's at least in just this video, on just one side of the building, 7 police officers. 7. You can count them. So you'd have to assume on every side there's about that. So it's 20 cops. Doing what? Doing what? The guy has a gun on the roof and the president's right over there. None of them do anything? Now, this is not me knocking the stadies or like the local PD. It's not their job. It's the Secret Service's job. But this guy was surrounded surrounded. Then he was looking up. I'm going to use like the shot here as a ridge line. He was looking up like this with a firearm. So if you're the Secret Service sniper and you're up on the rooftop and you see somebody going like this with a firearm, looking the direction of the president, what's the protocol there? There's already a suspicious person report. You see cops swarming them, and you don't take the shot. The video of Thomas Crooks was from 6:08. Donald Trump was shot at 6:11. So they allowed for this guy to put a bead on Trump, put a red dot on Trump for at least 3 minutes, according to our available footage. He's been a suspicious person for 2 hours? No, you're not going to convince me. You're not going to convince me that the incompetence does not pass over into malevolence. As we will say in the course of this investigation, I do not need to be a mind reader for Kimberly Cheadle. I don't need to be a mind reader or know your heart. I simply need to be able to see the results of your plan, look at your plan, look at the results of your plan, which is Trump getting shot, miraculously living, and then look at your plan and say that the incompetence, the gross negligence, is indistinguishable from malevolence. Meaning, if you have enough stupid people doing stupid things, then you are setting yourself up something horrible to happen. Something terrible's going to happen. By design, because too many dumb people are doing too many dumb things. So there it is, ladies and gentlemen. This is what's now being discovered and being quite honestly proven. And so we'll wait and see. Mike Johnson's put together a little team and then everyone went on vacation. Isn't that amazing how it works in Congress? They put together the task force and there's like no urgency. They all go on vacation. They announce the task force and then everyone's gone. See ya. No hearing scheduled, nothing else scheduled. Ladies and gentlemen, it's something that deserves a true investigation. That's why we're in favor of what Corey Mills is doing, wonderful congressman, and Eli Crane is doing, with the help of Kash Patel, who's on the program yesterday, Dan Bongino, and a lot of other great people, including us, who will be releasing a documentary about it this weekend, and we'll be helping out as much as we possibly can. And I would love to go back to Butler and go to the Donald Trump rally. Apparently, Trump's going back there. So that's one we're probably going to put on the calendar and go create content at. We're going to have to see how it shakes out, but it's too good, ladies and gentlemen. Donald Trump, a solid gold decision, decided to go back. I mean, this is just alpha energy, much like the meme for the start of today's show. Do we have today's show meme loaded? We have just the meme, yeah. Yeah, okay, great. So Donald Trump, alpha energy, big golden lion mane energy. Donald Trump coats his buildings in gold. We have a series called Trump Cribs where we actually go to a bunch of Trump properties. A lot of gold at Trump properties. The reason why is that gold projects power and value throughout the ages. That's why you should invest in gold, especially as you watch these warmongers do everything they possibly can to demonically cling on to power. In times of war and in times of chaos, precious metals spike. And that's what they're doing now. Gold is now at all-time highs. If you had listened to me 2 years ago, you'd be sitting like a dandy, okay? As a bunch of stuff implodes and a bunch of fake currencies or new currencies or stocks go completely south, gold, ladies and gentlemen. My friends at Allegiance Gold set you up. Go to protectwithbenny.com today. Protectwithbenny.com today. Or call 844-66-BENNY. Right now, get $5,000 in free silver with a qualifying purchase. Don't get fooled by inflated values. Go gold, ladies and gentlemen. Protectwithbenny.com today. We have a solid gold meme for you to end the show the same way that we started the show. I just loved this meme. I just loved it. I just absolutely loved it. Ladies and gentlemen, if you wish to support our program and what we do here, please sign up for the Benny Brigade on our website, bennyjohnson.com. You can sign up for $5 a month. And you can support the work that we're doing here, which are documentaries, investigative journalism, going live for every big event, making sure that you have correct commentary, sharp commentary, and then you never miss a moment. We have a team that works 24 hours a day for you. If you wish to support us, it'd be a blessing to us, ladies and gentlemen. Also, of course, if you support us, you will get mailed the official Benny Brigade keychain, made right here in America by American veterans with American leather. And that's just how we do it around here. The verse of the day, Hebrews 11. Faith shows the reality of what we hope for. It is the evidence of things we cannot see. Through their faith, the people in the days of old earned a good reputation. We hope, ladies and gentlemen, for a better country. We want this country to have leaders that reflect the greatness of this nation. We want this country to have leaders that reflect the goodness and providence of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. And there's nothing like surviving an assassination attempt through what has to be described as divine intervention. Now, what does this mean? Does this mean that Donald Trump's our only last hope? Nope. It's actually the opposite. The opposite is this, that our hope needs to be in God and in our Savior and in something that has lasted for the generations. That's why it says the people in the days of old earned a good reputation through their faith. This is something that goes back before time itself. The Republican Party, certain leaders, all this, it's all gonna go away. It's all gonna go away. We're all gonna go away really quickly. So for our precious time here, make a choice. Make a choice to believe in what is real. All right? And do not put your faith in man. Man will let you down. Every man, every person will let you down. Put your faith in God. Put your faith in God. Put your faith in Christ, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. The best that we can do to bring salt and light to the world is to make memes, to laugh, to carry on, to fight. And that's what you'll always find on this program. It's your boy Benny. Please enjoy our meme of the day here. And have a great one. See you tomorrow.
In the heart of the urban jungle, the king lion fearlessly enters the den of the jackals. This isn't his first time, and likely not his last. You see, the king lion does this to show all the other woodland creatures who is really in charge, and also to remind the hungry jackals that if they around, the lion will tear the out of the jackals. For example, here, the king lion firmly tightens the cap of the jackal's water bottle while she isn't looking. The bottle is now sealed shut, and the water is trapped in the bottle forever. Besides, the jackal has no thumbs. He is the king of this jungle, as he is in every jungle, commanding respect around the world.
Truth gon' be faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. From the speeches to debates, Benny sharp like a blade, cutting through the lies, watch the truth cascade. With the warrior's heart, this man never fades. You know it's prime time when Benny invades. From saving the nation to stories untold, the Benny Show's a storm, see the truth unfold. Stay in the loop, let freedom take hold. Salting all the libs, soul never sold. It's the Benny Show, where the truth gon' be. Faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. Liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. From the speeches to debates, Benny sharp like a blade, cutting through the lies, watch the truth cascade. With the warrior's heart, this man never fades. You know it's prime time when Benny invades. From saving the nation to stories untold, the Benny Show's a storm, see the truth unfold. Stay in the loop, let freedom take hold. Salting all the libs, soul never sold. It's the Benny Show, where the truth gon' be. Faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light.